Hi, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm so excited because we are going to do another round of a new releases vlog. So I think it was in either March or April, I don't remember. I did a vlog where I read 3 new releases or kind of new releases, and I had such a good time doing that because one of the things that was on my like bucket goal, I'm not gonna die, one of the things that was on my reading goals for this year was to read more frontlist titles, because I typically am a backlist reader and I feel like I'm missing out on conversations about like what is hot right now, what are people really interested in, what is not working, things like that. So I had a good time doing that last time. I kind of wanted to do it again, like almost as soon as I finished posting that last vlog, which feel free to go watch it if you want. But yeah, we're just gonna do that again. I have a bunch of new releases. I don't know where they are. So I have 2 shelves of new releases. They're actually right here behind me. These 2 are full of new releases, and like last time, I'm gonna choose the first book that I want to read, and then the next, in this case, the next 3 books that I'm gonna read, I'm gonna pull out of a TBR jar that is solely full of new releases. Just to clarify, anything that's been published within the last year counts as a new release for me. I know the internet moves fast, but something that's only like 4 months old is still a new release. There might be 1 or 2 here that is like slightly older than a year. That's still fine with me. It might be like the first in the series, like the Raven Scholar I think I have back there. The second hasn't been released, so I'm just gonna leave it there. But for the most part, these are all books that are fairly new. A lot of these have come from like subscription box services, but some of these are also like that I got myself. I think that's everything that I needed to say before I start the vlog. Just some quick thing. So that's everything that I needed to say before I start the vlog. I know I went pretty quickly, but it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm reading a bunch of new releases. Without further ado, let's talk about book 1. So the first book that I've been wanting to read forever actually came out maybe like a month or 2 ago. No, about a month ago, and I wanted to immediately buy it and read it, but I saw that the Broken Binding was doing a special edition, and that is for This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me by Ilona Andrews. I love the Kate Daniels series by this author team. It is one of my favorite series of all time, and when I found out that they were doing a high fantasy series, I was so excited. And we follow a character named Maggie, who's a super fan of this like grim dark fantasy series. She knows everything about this series. She's reread it multiple times because the authors haven't the author hasn't published the final book, so she's just been rereading, very like Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire. So she's been rereading this series that she loves multiple times. She has like a really good like encyclopedic knowledge of the series that she loves. I don't know what it's called off the top of my head, but somehow one day like wakes up like in a gutter, and she realizes really quickly that she's in her favorite fantasy series, and she finds out also that she can't die. I think people have tried killing her or will try to kill her throughout the course of this first book, and she won't die. And instead of wanting to go back home, she decides to like stay in this fantasy world and maybe like insert herself into the story and like make sure her favorite characters don't die. It's a grim dark series that she loves, so I'm assuming there's like character deaths and like character betrayals that she wants to kind of meddle with, but not so much that she doesn't know what happens next, because I think from what I've heard from readers is that she gets transported like right before the events of the first book of the series that she loves. That's pretty much all I know. I'm just so excited because I love Ilona Andrews. They do such a good job of balancing like the plot of a story with like personal plot lines, like relationship drama, family drama, stuff like that. They do that so well. So I'm really excited to get to this. This is probably my most anticipated book of the year, and I'm so excited to be reading it. So obviously I was going to choose this as my first read of the vlog. I'm going to get into this and come back when I have my thoughts. I am so excited. let's do a reading update. I know the air just kicked in, but we're gonna have to deal with that. We're honestly, I live in Texas, we're gonna have to get used to that AC being on 24/7, so I'm not gonna wait for it to turn off right now. I have a really good update. I am about 90 pages into this. I am really enjoying it. I didn't want to stop reading this yesterday because I was just having such a good time, but I thought, no, let's pause. I need to give an update to talk about some of the things that I'm already like on my mind, or that is already on my mind. Some other housekeeping things. I just filmed a TikTok that will be up soon. I will be uploading my magical readathon vlog today as well. I just need to make the thumbnail and post it. And I just filmed my May TBR as well. It's gonna be a little late, but who cares? This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me. I think this is gonna be 5 stars. I'm having such a good time already, in part because the story is like fun and interesting, but also Ilona Andrews just really knows how to like suck you into a story and make you just like have a good time. So we're following Maggie, like I said, and she has been brought into her favorite fantasy world. It is grimdark. It's very like, I don't think the authors are being shady to like George R.R. Martin, but it's a very like universal experience when you have a favorite fantasy series that hasn't been completed. And that's where Maggie is. I think it's supposed to be a trilogy, her favorite series, but the second or the third book has not been published in quite some time, or there's not been a sequel in some time. The story really like kicks off at the beginning. We don't see her in the human world or our world. She is in the middle of this, and she is like in the gutter. She doesn't have any clothes. She has just like a giant cloak to cover herself, no money, no coins. And we talked about how she is going to like stay in this world and involve herself in the storylines of this because she has her favorite characters and she wants to like save them. I believe she had mentioned, this isn't really a spoiler, it's a spoiler for the book, within the book, but not for this book, but like one of her favorite characters ends in book 2 with like a noose around his neck, so she like doesn't know what's going to happen to him next. So she really wants to involve herself in these storylines, but she knows that she can't meddle too much, that the storylines diverge so much that she doesn't know what's going to happen next. So she has to like meddle, tweak some things, maybe like push some storylines ahead just like a little bit, but she has to be, and she knows this, which I really appreciate her like knowing this like ahead of time, that she can't just do too much and she can't just say information. I think one of the things that it reminds me of, and I'm gonna talk about Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire a lot because it's a good comparison, but she knows that she can't just like be a good noble person and that's gonna like save the day. Like she can't just like run her mouth and like try to save everyone that needs saving because Ned Stark, you know. So knowing that, and she knows that, she does do something reckless and kind of give out a very important piece of information essentially for free, and she does clock herself. To be fair, she just say following that like I shouldn't have done that, but like I really wanted to like save this character, so I'll give her a pass because the character knows that she knows she was a little bit too liberal with this information. One thing that I'm thinking about, and not to be like so romance pilled, but Ilona Andrews does a really good romance. They know how to yearn, they know how to banter. We're meeting a lot of male characters, and I'm wondering if any are gonna be like Maggie's love interest. Most of the men in this book are either described as like super ugly or like super attractive, and that's kind of silly, but I'll take it, it's fine. I just really want to again emphasize how much I really enjoy Maggie being a bit more smart about this, and she's not going in guns blazing because she thinks she knows her favorite fantasy world back and forth. She's kind of, again, I'm gonna use Game of Thrones again, she's kind of decided to try to be some sort of like master of whispers to like an important lord or lady to kind of secure like a safe place for herself, like a privileged place for herself. She has a lot of information and she's gonna try to like deal in information, you know what I mean? So that's kind of where we are in the story. I'm having such a good time. I did not want to do an update, I just wanted to keep reading, but you guys deserved an update, so yeah, I will come back very soon. I am 246 pages into this and I'm really enjoying it. I don't want to spoil anything, but something happened and I'm gagged. Like, this is so good, you guys. I'm a little over halfway there, but I think I'm gonna give this 5 stars. I know it's premature, but I think I'm gonna give it 5 stars. Damn. So I wanted to do a quick update. My AC will be blasting for the foreseeable future because it's basically spring, and that means in South Texas it's basically summer. So you're gonna hear this AC like rumbling in the background. it is what it is. But I did want to give an update to This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me. I am loving this. This is so good. I think I'm gonna give this 5 stars, which I very rarely ever like decide on a 5-star before the book ends. Usually I have to like sit on it, but I'm really enjoying this. I had a feeling I would, because I love Ilona Andrews. I am about 394 pages in, which means I have like 70 pages left, but this flies so quickly. It's just, there's constant like movement in the plot, but not that it doesn't like overwhelm you, because sometimes authors will just throw plot points at you and you can't really like sit with the moment. These authors like really let you sit with it but still push the story forward. It's so fun. Romance. I very rarely feel super giddy about a romance. Most of the time I read a romance and I think, oh, that's like cute or whatever, that little subplot romance over there, but I'm like giggling. I am like twirling my hair. It's really good. And I don't know if it has anything to do with the fact that this couple is like married, or like the authors are married, or they just know how to do a romance, or their romance is for me because I've loved their work before. But I am very into it. There's been a lot of like twists and turns in the story. Every time that Maggie thinks that she has like thwarted a plot to hurt someone, something else pops up, which is bound to happen. I think that's something that she's getting used to really quickly. Like every time she like fixes something, you know, the story changes itself and she has to adjust, and I really enjoy that. So far, I was gonna say so far so good, but so far so fucking good. This is so good. So I'm gonna finish this up soon, probably tonight. But I did get a package, so let me show you what I got. I got the April box from Fairy Loot. This is the adult YA combo box. I don't get the romantasy one. Most stories these days that Fairy Loot and a lot of subscription services have a romance in it anyways. And yeah, so let's just open this up. I think I remember what the books for this box were, but let me show you. So the young adult fantasy box is called The Withered Wiles. It's a nice card. I always keep these in the book, and the book that they chose is The Gravewood by Kelly Andrew. This always happens during new releases vlogs. Last time I got like 7 books in the last new releases vlog, so I got a few more. Ooh, this is really pretty. Look at that cover. And the back cover, the spines, you have a young man there, I'm assuming, since it's the YA box. Ooh, I do actually like the art style of this one. And then this is the naked hardcover. Lovely. And if you're unfamiliar with this book, this was the original cover in a different colorway. Shea makes a bargain with the vampire leader of the woods in order to survive. When her best friend vanishes, she's forced to confront how much she's willing to sacrifice and what she might become. So that sounds haunting. It sounds kind of edgy. So that's that. I haven't heard too much. I don't usually like keep up with YA releases, but you know, that sounds cool. I do like vampires. And then the adult fantasy box was the Claim Your Power box, and I knew what this one was. This is the one that I knew was coming, and they chose a very hyped up release from a very TikTok popular author, Starside by Alex Astor. I remember when this author's first book was coming out, and it was really overhyped because of her marketing, and people were like, who are you? But here's the cover. Here are the edges. It is a very pretty design. The naked is also beautiful as always, as is the artwork inside. I think the artwork's okay. Sometimes the artists that they choose, their character designs aren't always for me, but this one's fine. And this is the original cover. It's pretty bland. The original cover is just like a graphic with text on it, which I'm surprised they gave her such a basic cover for how hyped up this author is. The summary of the card is, Seeking revenge on the goddess who destroyed her family, Eris enters a brutal competition for a chance to cross the immortal and magical realm of Starside. I heard some people say that this premise sounds very similar to her last series. I wouldn't know about that because I heard it wasn't well written, but maybe she got better as an author. If not, you know, I'm not afraid to get rid of something. The back cover is stunning. I want to look at it again. I'm not a big competition person, but I have liked some recently. But that is the update. So I will be back probably to gush more about This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me, and then we'll choose our next read. Sorry for the worst lighting ever, but I just have to say I finished. That was so good. 5 out of 5 stars. I don't even have to think about it. I'll come back in the morning to talk about it, but Ilona Andrews, they're so good. Oh my god, so good. Okay, so I did finish, as you saw last night. I loved it. 5 stars. I never doubted my love for this book. What I do doubt is like my commitment to a 5-star, because I do waffle a lot when it comes to giving books 5 stars, but beginning, middle, end, 5 stars. I love this. There was one thing towards the end that I was like, if I wasn't loving this right now, I would have a bigger, like I'd make a bigger stink about it. And that is towards the end, there was a trope that was recycled again with a different character. And I felt that that was a little too redundant. And like I said, like if I wasn't already head over heels in love with this, I would have like, it would have bothered me more, but I was already like super biased for this. So I think that's a sign of how much like you love a book, how much you want it to be a 5-star, when you could ignore like the bad stuff about it and still really, you know, love it. So I'm giving this 5 stars. I even did like a TikTok dedicated review, which I very rarely do dedicated book reviews on TikTok, but I just needed to gab about this some more. What else? The romance was romancing. I really enjoyed it. Ilona Andrews can really make me give a shit about a couple. That's hard to do these days. Something that the authors did, which felt like such a hallmark of like the early or the late 2000s, no, late 90s, early 2000s, is urban paranormal fantasy, like romance interests, romantic interests. Sometimes in these books of that era, you'd be introduced to like multiple love interests, and it wouldn't be a why choose, it wouldn't be polyamorous. It'd be like every 3 books our main character would have like a new flirtation. I feel like that's such a thing that isn't really done anymore. Nowadays it's just like poly or why choose, but sometimes our main character, like I feel like they should play the field a little, you know what I mean? Not everyone meets their like first love and it ends up being their happily ever after. Like no one, not no one, but like most people, their first boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever isn't the person they're going to be with for the rest of their lives. And a lot of times in books, that's how it is. Like it's their first love and that's it. The authors kind of played around with it. There's a very definitive love interest in this book, but the authors do this thing which is really funny, where men in this book are either like average or god awful or the hottest men ever alive, and I think that's so fucking funny. It might not be realistic, but I appreciate the clarity. You're either handsome or you're a butt fuck ugly troll under a bridge. Like that's it, that's what you are. I really enjoyed this. I have been gabbing about this all morning since I filmed the TikTok this morning, so I don't really like, I have just so many thoughts going through my head, but if I have something else to say, I will come back and I'll add it onto the video. But 5 stars. What a great way to start the vlog. I had a feeling I was going to start the vlog pretty well. That means that we have to choose a book now. I did buy something though. I went to the mall yesterday to go watch Hokum with my brother, and we stopped by the bookstore really quickly, and I did pick up a copy of Daggermouth, which is a really popular, I think, dystopian romance. I've been wanting to buy a secondhand copy off of Pango, but everyone's selling their book for like $50 for some reason. This was like 20, I think, at my bookstore, and I had credit, or I had a gift card, and then I had my membership, so I only paid like $13 for this. I don't know why y'all are selling this for $50. I'm counting this as a new release because I guess I don't know when it came out, but I'm just gonna put it in the new release pile. And I did put it in my TBR jar. So let's choose book 2. As always, if you haven't seen my other video doing this, I always choose 2 choices from the TBR jar because I like having some semblance of control. I don't like just choosing one. That's like that's not enough control for me. So at least 2, and then I choose the one that I want to read of the 2, and the one that I don't choose goes back into the TBR jar. And again, these are only new releases, nothing backlist. So let's choose the first book and I'll show you first. What is it? It says The Bone Raiders. I've been wanting to read this one because it sounds so fun, and the sequel's coming out soon. So The Bone Raiders by, I think it's Jackson Ford. So if I remember correctly, this book is about a group of people called the Ricotta. No, yeah, I think they're called the Ricotta, and they're bone raiders, and they ride horses, and they're decked out in bones of their enemies. And I believe that there's this new leader amongst them that wants to like kick them out or is trying to mess with them. And when our main character decides that they should be riding these things called Aratan, which are like these fire-breathing lizard things, and it just sounds like a badass book. Like, this just sounds so like cool, like capital C cool. And I don't know, the characters on the cover look so badass, so I would be down for like a badass fantasy, so that's a good choice. As for our next choice, this is what is it? Do you see it? Is it upside down? Oh, it was. What is it? Operation Bounce House. So this funny story, I had chosen this the last round of new releases, but I put it back because I was going to read this for the Magical Readathon. And guess who did not read it for the Magical Readathon? Me. So then I put it back in the jar saying, oh, I do want to read it at some point, but you know, I didn't read it for the Magical Readathon. I was gonna anyway. So this has been doing the rounds. I am so sorry to Operation Bounce House, but I'm not in the mood for this type of humor right now. I think I really want, I'm not even gonna take it out of the shelves, I'm so sorry, but I really want to read The Bone Raiders. It looks so cool. So sorry to Matt Dinniman, you're doing well for yourself. You don't need me to read your book. It's a snap decision, and I'm gonna read this. So yeah, this is gonna be book 2 for the vlog. So let's do an update because I'm about 130-ish pages into this. I picked this up because I thought it was gonna be, it just sounded really badass. Like, it felt like something that could be like an action movie. That's just the vibe that it gave me. So in this book, we are following a group of people who are the Bone Raiders, the Ricotta, and not ricotta cheese, but like ricotta, and they are raiders. Like, they go and they go to little villages and they like take what they want, and that's how they survive. They're, you know, not great. They have like slightly better morals than like your average raiders. Like, they don't try to kill as much, whatever, and they wear like bones, and they're thought to be like really scary and stuff. And we follow a couple of these Bone Raiders, and we have their different POVs. We mostly follow 2, but these raiders live in an area called, what are they called? The tapestry, and it's very like Mongolian, like Central Asia inspired. That's kind of what the vibe I'm getting, because in this world there's a new Khan, right? Like Genghis Khan, but there's a Khan, and he is trying to consolidate his power and push everyone to live in this like central city called I don't know what it's called, but basically he wants to move everyone, all these villagers, all these nomads into a central city, and also conscript men and young men into like being part of his army. So he's just trying to like be in power of like everyone in this general area. And our main characters, the raiders, they don't particularly care about that because they are nomadic and they just like raid little villages that they like find, but because this Khan is like consolidating power and people, our raiders are struggling for like food and like things that they want. And so one of our main characters, who used to be part of like the, not royal, but she was like an upper class person in this city, she like ran away like 2-3 years prior, and she became a raider because she didn't want to live this lifestyle in the city under a Khan. And she's been with the raiders for a while, and she has this really great idea to ride these fire-breathing lizards so they can like stand up against the Khan, I guess. I don't really know what her game plan is, and I'm so glad the characters in the book called her out. They're like, what's the point of that? Like, what, ride these dragon things for what? That's like the premise so far. My problem is like the conflict feels so flimsy. The characters' problems aren't because of this Khan. You would think, oh, like there's this evil like bad guy who's in charge of the city, the only city in this area, and so they like want to stop him. They actually don't give a shit about that because they don't live in that city. Like, yeah, they know that people are being treated like shit under this Khan, but they don't care. What they care about is the fact that they don't have other people to raid, right? And I don't mind following like bad characters. Like, raiding is like morally bad, but the problem isn't with the Khan. The problem is that the Khan is like forcing people to live in his city. So like, I don't know what the end goal is. Like, I don't like, do you know what I mean? Like, it feels like the characters have a problem with the Khan, but they really don't. It just feels like a very like not thought through concept, unless something's gonna happen towards the other half where things kind of get a little bit more clear, there's a little bit more thoughtfulness behind it. But it doesn't really feel like there was a lot of thought put into like the conflict and our characters' involvement with that conflict. So I'm not super into the story right now. The characters for now are like fine. I'm not super attached to any of them. I will say though that there is like queerness. One of the characters is deaf, so she signs, and there's like one character, I think it's this older woman right here, she's she like speaks in riddles and she's like odd. I like characters like that. But yeah, like the premise like sounds cool, like riding a bunch of like fire breathing lizards. The conflict, it just doesn't feel very secure and stable, and our characters' involvement with that conflict doesn't feel secure or stable. Because let's say they do take out the Khan, you know what I mean? Let's say he gets eaten by a giant lizard. The problem is still that people live in a city, and don't get me wrong, some people don't want to live in the city. Some people might still want to go back to living in villages, but like it's kind of one of those like, once you open the door or you open the box, you can't like unopen it. People are still going to want to live in cities as opposed to just like nomading it around a giant wasteland. It's hard, it's struggle, you know, it's a struggle to live on your own. At least in cities, you can barter, you can trade, you can sell whatever. Does that make sense? Like I don't know, the conflict's not really, it doesn't feel very logical, I guess. It just feels like a very flimsy setup. So I'm not super enjoying that. It's unfortunate that this is following up probably one of my favorite reads of the year, which was the last book I talked about. So we'll see how I feel about that. But that is my update. I need to edit my April wrap up because I still haven't posted that, and finish this up and continue on with this vlog. So I just finished the Bone Raiders and it did get better, I'm happy to say, because that middle part was just kind of like dull and not super interesting. I picked this up originally because I thought we were gonna get like a really like fun, exciting, almost like action movie type book, and I only really got that the last like 70-80 pages when our main characters were actually like interacting more with these lizard things. They're called Arutan, but the fire lizards. One thing that I did really like that I never really talked about was that one of the perspectives that we follow is not one of the Bone Raiders. We actually follow like a villain perspective, and I think that's so refreshing. It really like adds tension, so I do appreciate that. There's sapphic relationships here, which I love. There's one sapphic relationship, because there's multiple, which is great. One sapphic relationship that I kind of just like felt like it was just given to us. Like it didn't really feel like a great build up, to be honest. We're kind of supposed to like fill in this like the missing spaces on our own, because it, you know, it's implied that this couple grew closer and we didn't really get to see that. So that's like, okay, like yay sapphic, but like boo, we didn't get to really see it that much. The ending was fun. That's kind of when it got exciting and very like action movie like. And then the last chapter had a little bit of a reveal. It wasn't like as like spectacular as I think the author wanted to make it out to be. Like I think the author wanted us to go like, whoa, I didn't know that. But like I didn't know it, but like I also like didn't think it was like that explosive. But I am actually interested to see what happens next. I don't know if I'll get like a brand new copy, because I got this from a bookish box that I no longer subscribe to, which was Caffeine and Legends. And it's just like a standard not standard mass market, but this is just a standard paperback. I believe the second book came out recently. I am interested to see where this goes next. Maybe one of my library cards has access to it and I can read it on Kindle. I actually don't know how long this series is gonna be. Anyways, but it did get better. That's all I really wanted to say. I'm leaning between a 3 and a 3.5 star. Like if the excitement that I got from the last 70 pages was like there throughout the book, I would give it a 3.5 definitively, but I'm not quite sure. I think just to be like safe and keep in mind that as the time passes, I probably won't have like a high opinion of this much anymore. So I'm gonna go for 3. It could go up, but it's probably gonna stay at 3. So that's my rating for this. Anything else? Nope, that's pretty much it. It's a fine read, but we have to choose our next book, which I'm really excited for. Come with me to pick my next book. Okay, so here I'm in front of my shelves. I have to change the angle because I did actually organize my new releases up here. I added a one more tier into this bookshelf, so there's more space, but I have to use my ring light and it's like really high up and I don't like it, but this is the angle that we have for now. I'll try to think of something better, like something that looks a bit more aesthetically pleasing. But here are my shelves. Here are the new releases shelf. So we do have to choose our next read, our TBR Acorn. So you first. This is Graceless Heart. Oh, this one's actually really pretty. Hold on, where is it? Graceless Heart by Isabel Ibanez. I've heard of this author before, but I haven't read from them yet. And this says, as a sculptress, Ravenna Maffei has always shaped beauty from stone, but she has a terrible secret. Desperate to save her brother, she enters a competition hosted by Florence's most feared immortal family, revealing a dark power in a city where magic is forbidden. Now a captive in the cutthroat city, Ravenna is forced into a dangerous task where failure means certain death at the hands of Saturnino de Luni, the immortal family's mesmerizing but merciless heir. But as he draws her closer, Ravenna realizes that the true threat lies beyond Florence's walls. The Pope's war against magic is closing in, and Ravenna is no longer a prisoner but a prize to be claimed. As trusting the wrong person becomes lethal, Ravenna must survive the treacherous line between the Pope's obsession and the seductive immortal who might be the end of her, or surrender her power to a city on the brink of war. This sounds cool because it kind of sounds like fantasy, the Medici family, you know what I mean? So that's interesting, and this book is beautiful. I think I remember the inner cover being really nice. This is the artwork in the that's so nice. I actually really like that. This is from the Divine Rebellion book box, adult fantasy, January 2026, Fairy Loot. So that's a good choice. But let's see what else we draw from the jar. I do like some of the elements that I heard. I'm not a big competition person, but like fantasy, the Medici family sounds cool. So the next option is you first. That says Weaving Shaw. Ooh, that one was pretty hyped up, and lately I've been more into like FOMO gets to me more lately for whatever reason. This one has been really hyped up. Weaving Shaw by Heba Al-Wasiti. This is about let's see. The Saint of Silence trades in coins for every sordid divulgence uttered to him. The darker the secret, the higher the price. Lena has a secret, one that has haunted her since she was 17. She can see the dead. When her brother falls ill, she knows what she must do, seek the saint. But Lena's secret is more valuable to the saint than she could have imagined. To save her brother, she must make a deal with him to find the ghost he's searching for. All paths lead to Weavingshaw, a cursed estate on the moors. As Lena grows closer to the Saint Silas, and she is plunged further into his world of danger, deceit, and desire, she learns that he is hiding his own secrets, one that has the power to destroy them all. I'm kind of conflicted. Plot-wise, this one sounds more interesting to me, but this one has been getting better reviews and it's like more hyped up, and this one has more mixed reviews. I do want to read what's getting me more, the positive reviews here or the plot that I want to read here. I think I'm gonna pick Graceless Heart because I am less likely, like I have less reasons to pick this up at the moment than Weaving Shaw. I could just read this on my own because I am interested to see what this is about, but this is giving me the opportunity to read this. So I think I'm gonna go with Graceless Heart by Isabel Ibanez for my next read. We'll put this back, but I I don't think this is going to be sitting on my shelves unread much longer anyways. So I think that's like my logic. I think that's a good choice. This will be our book 3 for the vlog. Peace. 2 updates. The first quick one, I did get a book, another one, but this one is not being added to my new releases TBR because this is a backlist book. It's Harold the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I read Gideon last month, loved it, and so I picked up this one from someone on Pango. This is not a new release, so this is not going to go in the shelves, but I just thought I'd mention it because I did get a book. I'm really excited to read this. I loved Gideon so much, so I'm really excited to see what happens next for these characters. Don't want to talk too much on this because we're not about that right now. So I did start Graceless Heart. I am about 170 pages in. I did like a quick little reading vlog for TikTok, and I just kept reading this while making that. So this book follows our main character Ravenna. She lives in a world, she lives in a small city called Voltaire, and it's kind of hard to explain, and the author's not very good at doing it herself either. Like, it's kind of like not great. Her brother is been imprisoned because he was part of some sort of rebellion, I think against the Medicis. I'm not 100% sure on that. Like I said, the author's not doing a really good job of explaining, but this happens like before the book even starts. He's in prison now, and one thing that I immediately noticed, it doesn't feel like this is like post rebellion battle. You know how like when a rebellion fails, things like feel differently? This doesn't really feel any different than like apparently what was already happening. So that's one thing. So our main character Ravenna wants to set her brother free, and she hears about this sculpture contest hosted by the family called the Lumis. Is it the Lumis or the Lunis? The Lunis, the De Lunis or whatever, and they're thought to be immortal. A lot of people think that they're fae, and that's another thing. Fae, witches, vampires exist in this world. That's not super talked about a lot. Maybe it will later on, but in the first 170 pages, like there's like hints about vampires. There's like casual mentions about like warlocks or wizards or whatever. It's one of those where I was like, does everyone know that magic exists, or is this like a secret thing? I'm not really sure, but everyone knows that magic exists, and people think that De Lunis are fae because they're super beautiful and it doesn't seem like they age. Anyways, so they're hosting a sculptor competition, and our main character is a young woman, so she's not supposed to be a sculptor. It's like not part of, like, women aren't supposed to do that, but she does, and she wants to win this, and if you win you get a boon and you can ask for anything. She wants to free her brother. This is like at the beginning of the book, like first 2-3 chapters. So she wins the competition. No setup for the competition or anything. We just know that there's a competition. How long has she been prepping for this? I don't know. How long has she been working on this one like sculpture piece? We don't know, but she's worked on it, and in order to kind of give it that final like hurrah, that boost, she puts like a moonstone in the piece, and moonstones have like magic powers, and in order to hold it you need to be a witch or a fae, and she can hold it and she can harness it. She's a witch, or she has witch abilities, or she's related to a witch, and that's not good because magic is a big no-no for pretty much everywhere in the Holy Roman Empire except for Florence. Florence really likes magic users, or they allow magic users, but we'll get to that soon. So when she outs herself as a witch because she puts a moonstone in the sculpture, she's like, it's worth the sacrifice. Like, I'm gonna be looked down upon, but I want to free my brother. And her family's like, no, don't do it, it's not worth it. And she's like, your son, my brother, like, we're gonna have to rescue him. So she wins the competition and her brother's free. This is all in the beginning of the book. And by winning the competition, the De Lunis decide that she's gonna come with them. They basically kidnap her, and she's like, whoa, I just wanted to win the competition and free my brother. My family runs an inn, and I basically run that thing. Like, I'm the head of operations. Like, they're not gonna succeed without me. And they're like, we don't care, we're taking you to Florence. She's from a city called Voltaire, remember that. And so that's the beginning of the story. There's a couple members of this family that we meet, but the most important one is the heir, the son. His name is Saturnino, named after Saturn. That's gonna be the romance. So I had mentioned when I picked out this book, it sounded like fantastical, magical version of the Medici's family from Florence. The Medicis do come out in this book. So apparently Florence is under the control of both the Medicis and the De Lunis. The Medicis are humans, and they run like the front forward facing of Florence, and the De Lunis kind of are like the back alley runners of Florence, the more magical side of Florence. The Pope is a character in this book. We do see his perspective, and he hates magic. He is not about magic at all, and he hates the Medicis because they are okay with magic, and he hates the De Lunis because he thinks that they're like magical beings. There's a lot of Catholic vibes in this, which I usually don't mind, and I don't mind it here because I grew up with a Catholic vibe. I'm not religious, but I grew up with a Catholic vibe. I like Catholic aesthetics, and so the Pope hates anything magical that's going on here, and he believes the De Lunis are plotting against him, the Pope. We've had mentions of the Holy Roman Emperor, and he's like cool with magic, but we haven't seen him and what his part is in the story, if there is a part for him in this story. The part that I don't like in this story, I've already kind of hinted that the setup is not very good, that the author's not really like explaining this world well. We're kind of just like getting bits and tidbits, which is what you're supposed to do as an author, not just like info dump a ton of stuff. But she's also not explaining things very well. This is supposed to be adult, if I check correctly. Yeah, so the card says adult fantasy. This reads like YA. It is what it is. I don't mind reading YA books, but this just reads like YA. So if you're not into that kind of writing style, it feels very youthful, very like dramatics forward, this might not be for you. Oh, another thing that I don't like is, I hate when authors do this, but when they kind of like jump, like they make a big assumption, like a big leap of logic, and it could be like, oh, the character is flawed and they're not very logical. Like that could be like the explanation, like the characters themselves are not very smart. But our main character, Ravenna, obviously wants to break free from the De Lunis. She did not want to come to them. She did not want to go to Florence with them. Sorry, my dog started barking. So our main character is forced to go to Florence with the De Lunis family, and she doesn't want to go there, but they're like, you're going to be our sculptress and we're going to be your patron. Like they're forcing her to like be there, and she's basically a hostage, and so she wants to break free. Like she wants to run away, she wants to go back home, but she believes that she cannot go back home because when she revealed herself to have magic or be a witch, she knew that she would be shunned if she went back home, and her family would be shunned, so she can't just go back home. That's her line of thinking. So she thinks if she goes to Lorenzo de Medici, like the Medici, and asks him, hey, can you not be so strict with my home city of Voltaire, he will agree to that because she's important to the Medicis, or to the De Lunis, and he'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll loosen up a little bit, and then she can go back home, and everyone will welcome her with like open arms because she got to talk to Lorenzo de Medici and like got him to be like a less strict ruler. That makes no fucking sense. That's a huge leap of logic. Like that's dumb. That is so dumb. And I've heard that this author in some of her other books like makes characters dumb, and I don't think it's like on purpose. I think the characters, I just don't think the author kind of thinks things through, from what I've heard. What book was it that I saw people talking mad shit about? Was it What the River Knows, the Egyptian one, where the character's like obsessed with Egypt, but she's never seen an Egyptian map or some shit? Anyways, but see, like things like that is what I mean. Like the character's dumb. Like she's making leaps of logic. She's like, if I do this, then I'll do this, and then I save the day. You know what I mean? Like it's very much like, whoa. Like, what are you thinking? What is that? We're making assumptions here, you guys. And not only that, but the reason the De Lunis want our main character Ravenna to be their sculptress is because she has access to magic. They saw that because she showed it off at that competition. They want her to basically excavate magic stones from like giant piles of rock that they have, and for what reason we don't know. They're not telling her anything, but they're like, there is magic rocks in this giant pile of stone. We want you to get it out of there because you can, and you have the magic to do it. That's it. That's the plot so far. If it sounds convoluted, it reads convoluted. It's not going great. The plus side is that I do like the vibes. I do like things set in like Italy. I do like the Florence vibe. I do like the Catholic influences. I love an evil Pope character. Like the aesthetics, the vibe, the descriptions, great, beautiful, lush. The author's doing a really good job reminding you like, hey, we're in Florence, Italy. We're in the middle of the Renaissance. Like art, sculpture, all that stuff is exploding. And anyways, I have to cut the update there because somebody is getting angry. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. At least I have something to say about this one, but it's not looking good. So I'll be back. I've read like 10 pages since my last update, but the author included like a Marvel style level cameo that was so, it was like funny, kind of ridiculous, but I guess it's part of the plot. Leonardo da Vinci made a little cameo, and it was it was a little ridiculous, but the story is not, it's wild. I ignore the mess back here, but I have about 100 pages left of Graceless Heart, and I'm not loving it. I fear this is not going to get a great glowing review from me unless something amazing happens at the end, but it's going to be a no for me, dog. Yeah. So I did finish Graceless Heart. This is a better angle. I did finish Graceless Heart. And I didn't really like it that much. I have some problems with a lot of this book. I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars because I think there were some elements that I was kind of like into and some that I wasn't. I think the last like proper discussion I had about this before my dog interrupted was that I think the author was doing a good job of like reminding you that this is the middle of the Renaissance. We are in Florence and everything's so beautiful and so lush and like romantic, and I love that. Like I like that setting. I think I'm gonna use this for my r/fantasy bingo board, where the square is to choose a book where you want to like go to vacation, like you want to go to the setting of the book. So I think I'm going to choose this one for that. But that is pretty much the only thing that I really enjoyed, was how like pretty this kind of felt. I think my biggest problem with this one is that it wanted to be romance forward, but it also wanted to have this like political intrigue type of storyline, because we have the Medicis, we have the Lune family or the Luni family, and then we have an evil Pope character, and it could have been a really cool like political kind of intrigue type story, but the romance was just so heavy, and that would have been fine. But I thought the author was, I didn't know which the author wanted to lean towards. It also read very young, like this is more YA, but there is a spicier scene, so it is technically adult, and some violent stuff happens as well. I don't know like who I would recommend this to. Like if you want romance forward, then all the politics stuff is going to probably like bore you, but if you want the politics stuff, there's so much romance in this. Or maybe if you do want 50-50, this will be there, but I think the politics part was so poorly done. I think when you do political fantasy, the choices that your characters make have to be really thought out, because then it just feels lame. Like our main character was making decisions, and she was making choices that were so on the surface seemed so flawed. Like I explained one of them earlier, about her wanting to go to Lorenzo de Medici and like force him to bend to her, like ask him to do something for her, and she's like, well, I'm important to the city now, so like he should listen to me. You know, things like that are so surface level that seems so dumb. And there's another moment where something similar happened, and you would think, okay, maybe she's young and that's why she doesn't know how to play the game, but then everything works in her favor for the most part. Like things do work out well for her, and it's like, so it just, I don't know, it just wasn't good plot wise. The ending just kind of felt like it ended like really, the epilogue was just so not great, and I guess like not needed in a way. And I don't know if there's going to be more in this world. I thought that I saw that there was going to be a sequel. Like if you check on Goodreads, this is listed as book number 1, so maybe there's more in this coming. I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't really like this. It didn't really end in a way that I felt really great. There was a character that was kind of introduced towards the end that I had a suspicion was going to show up, but then that was also super sudden. It just wasn't, the ending wasn't great. It felt really rushed. There's a lot about this that was not great. The only thing that I liked was the setting. That's about it. Romance is fine if you're into that. I do think that I guess maybe the romance was the best part if I really had to choose one. But even then I was whatever on it because I was so disappointed with the political intrigue that I didn't really care for the romance at that point. So 2.5 stars. This will be unhauled, but that means we can choose our last book of the vlog. So let me go do that. I think this is a better angle. Here are my new releases. So let's choose out of the TBR jar and see what we're working with. As always, I will show you first. It's upside down. And we got, what is this? It's back. Operation Bounce House is back. Okay. Let me pull it out. Operation Bounce House has come to rear its disgusting ugly head. I don't know why I'm so, like, I want to read this, but I also, like, I feel like I might not like it. Operation Bounce House is a standalone dystopian about a group of people who are living on a different either planet or moon or something, and the company that is that owns this moon is terraforming it has asked or is ordered a extinction level event on the locals of this planet or moon or wherever this takes place. And he's using like or the company is using like streamers, gamers to like kill the locals. I'm sure that's a horrible summary, but just know that's supposed to be very topical, on point right now about how desensitized we are to like violence on other people. I don't know. We'll see how, if this is, I feel like I should just choose it at this point because it keeps coming up in these goddamn TBR jars. And then my next choice is, what is it? The Last Starborn Seer. I know which one that one is. This one's actually probably the prettiest one on the shelves right now, by Vinci Constantine. I believe this book is about, first of all, gorgeous, but I believe this book is about a woman who has a kind of a certain magic with prophetic visions, and she's thought to be the reason why there's this sickening like disease on the land, on the realm, and then she has to go on some sort of journey to like find some sort of object to fix the problems in the realm. But it seems very romantic. Like, I know it seems like some sort of journey, but does this not give like romantic vibes? I think I'm gonna go, I would like to read this one just because it's gorgeous, but I think I'm just going to choose Operation Bounce House at this point because it keeps coming up, and this would be a nice book to end the vlog with, don't you think? Might as well get it out of the way. And we'll see how I like Matt Dinniman's humor, because ideally I like to read his Dungeon Crawler Carl series, since it was announced that, is it Peacock is doing an adaptation of Dungeon Crawler Carl. So I guess I'm finally reading Operation Bounce House. And this will go back into the jar. I know I gave a really shitty summary for this, but I was not feeling it. I'm not in the mood for something so lush and beautiful because I just finished Graceless Heart. This might change my mood, and like in a good way. So this is what we're reading next, and then I'll come back when I have an update. So I do have a little update. I did get to page 123 of Operation Bounce House. I'm about that far into it, but before I do, I did get 2 new releases, some bookish boxes, and they have already been added to the acorn jar. They're very beautiful. We'll start with the broken binding. I got Girl with a Thousand Faces by Sunyi Dean. This is kind of, I think, a horror-ish fantastical novel. I believe we follow a character who is an exorcist, and this takes place in 1975 Hong Kong. I don't think I've read something set in Hong Kong in a while, I think, and it's also like a period piece, which I love. And we follow an exorcist, and I think she works for like a local gang, like one of the triads or whatever, and she lives in like the slums, and she like works to like exorcise spirits. But I think there's one that is very powerful or is hurting a lot of people, and it claims to know our main character. I think our main character washed up on the shore somewhere in, I guess, Hong Kong, and doesn't remember her past. In, I think, in like World War II, like prior to World War II, she doesn't remember her past, and this ghost or this spirit claims to know her. So that's the story. It's very short. I hope I enjoy it, because this is a very beautiful edition. I haven't looked at the inside yet, but it's just kind of, that's really pretty. And the artwork, I'm always excited to see the artwork inside, because that is gorgeous. But that is the first book that I got. And then I got this one that I knew that it was coming because I follow like the spoiler pages, but this is Bloodbound by Ellis Hunter, which is a new debut writing duo. I don't think any of them have been published before, and it's a dragon romantasy. I don't know how many books this will, like, I don't know if it's like a standalone or what have you, but I want to say that we follow a couple characters, which is why the summary was super confusing. But we follow a couple characters, and one of them is the princess of a queendom that is like the witch queendom. I want to say that they're predominantly witches, and she is supposed to duel the heir to the dragon kingdom, and her kingdom or her queendom is like infested with some sort of disease, and she doesn't have the cure for it, and she's like her country's last hope, but she thinks she's probably going to lose the duel for whatever reason, because the prince of the dragon kingdom is like super powerful, whatever. And then we also have another character who is some sort of juggler, and she's searching for her best friend, who she thinks has been conscripted to the dragon kingdom's army for whatever reason. So both of them, the princess and the juggler, go on some sort of journey together to the dragon kingdom. I want to say that's kind of a vague summary that I kind of gathered from the flap. But I do think that this cover is pretty. I really liked the sprayed edges. I think is really nice. The cover is way better than the original, because the original was just a very basic like romantasy cover with like text and like a cool design. I haven't seen the inside actually. Oh wait, this is the original cover. Kind of boring, right? This was, by the way, was this the Illumicrate? Yeah, this was Illumicrate, which I didn't know that Illumicrate did the inside jackets, unless they're doing this now. This is something that Fairy Loot typically does, but they usually don't do it for Illumicrate. But that would be nice, because I like seeing the original cover. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this was the original cover for Girl with a Thousand Faces. But back to Bloodbound. This is the naked book. Very nice. I love that. And then the inner artwork is really pretty, actually, now that I look at it. I like the colors. I think the color palette for this was probably one of my favorites. I love like blue and like a salmon color. And I think this is supposed to be the juggler character looking for her best friend, and then this is supposed to be the princess of the kingdom with like the prince of the kingdom, the rival kingdoms, queendom, rival kingdom. But let's talk about not Dungeon Crawler Carl, Operation Bounce House. So I'm actually kind of surprised about the direction of this book. For whatever reason, probably because of Dungeon Crawler Carl, I thought this was going to be a bit more lighthearted and funny. And don't get me wrong, there's some like witty moments here. There's like some kind of like boyish kind of humor. It's kind of like dude bro humor, but it's not turning me off completely, to be fair. I was really worried because I knew that our main character's sister is essentially like an OnlyFans creator, which I have no problem with. I don't have a problem with sex workers as long as it's like safe, consensual, and like they are in charge of their profits and stuff like that. But I had heard that our main character is somewhat involved in his sister's OnlyFans career, and it was kind of odd and creepy. He talks about it a little bit, and it's not like he's like super into the fact that his sister does like OnlyFans content. It's called Only Friends, I think, but it's essentially OnlyFans, like mature. If you don't know what OnlyFans is, it's essentially like mature sexual content. But our main character kind of brings that up. That's like the first thing that I just wanted to know. But like I said before, this book is about a group of people who have been living on this new planet called New Sonora. There's a lot of like like Latinos or like Latino influences here. Like a lot of the characters have Latino last names. A lot of the like locations feel like reminiscent to, I don't want to say specifically Mexico, but since a lot of these characters seem to be like American-ish, I'm assuming that there's a lot of Latinos here, specifically Mexican or people who are of Mexican descent. But this takes place maybe a couple hundred years into the future, depending on like the technology of it. It's not super clear, I want to say. Let me look if there's a date. The technology leads me to believe it's like a couple hundred years into the future. Like it's not crazy technology, but it's very advanced for at least our age. And so we have a couple people living on this planet called New Sonora, and it took a couple generations to get there, like maybe like 5 generations in the past. A group of people traveled on 15 giant ships to get to this planet, and it took forever, but eventually our main character, their grandparents were born on the ship, and they were the first to like terraform or start to terraform this new planet. And the next generation after the grandparents, our main character's parents, they were in a sickness. They had like this sickness that came about because of this planet. And now our current generation, where our main characters are living, they're like in their 20s. They're the ones having to do most of the work, since the parent generation died, and then the grandparents generation, they're all old. So most of our characters, most of the active characters in this story are like in their 20s, and they've been working the land forever. They usually do farm work, things like that, just trying to survive. And it starts like pretty quickly at the beginning, and I do think I really like how quickly we get into it. There's not a lot of setup. Everything that we need to know about this planet we figure out along the way. It can feel a little bit info dumpy, but I don't know, maybe I've read so many stories or watched so many movies where humans are terraforming different planets, so things weren't super confusing to me or whatever. I didn't think it was that info dumpy. It starts off pretty quickly where we find out that the company that works with the Earth government wants to do an eviction of this planet, which is essentially getting rid of almost everyone, and they are essentially propagandizing Earthlings or people on Earth that there's a bunch of terrorists on this planet New Sonora, which is not true. It's our main characters just like farming that like riles up the Earth people on Earth. And so this company called Apex, who is the one spreading propaganda, they essentially ask if anybody would like to participate in this eviction, essentially like creating a genocide, like taking part in a genocide and killing everyone on this planet. And again, these are mostly like kids in their 20s or grandparents. There's not a lot of people in like their 30s to 50s. There's a handful of people who have started to reproduce because the government has now allowed them to reproduce. So there's like a handful of children, but it's mostly people in their 20s and people in their like 70s, 80s, 90s. And that's pretty much the story. We're getting a bunch of these giant mechs landing on this planet that are controlled by like gamers or, you know, streamers and stuff, and they're trying to like kill the locals. And like I said, the story starts off pretty quickly. Like you get really thrown into it, and our main characters are essentially just defending themselves. I think this is very topical right now. That's one thing that I heard a lot when people were discussing this, is how on the nose it was. And I don't mind it. I don't mind on the nose, because sometimes some readers need that extra kind of like push to understand. They might not get it. Like reading between the lines is unfortunately harder for some people. Critical thinking is at an all-time low, blah blah blah. You've heard this before on the internet. Propagandizing, telling people of the privileged Earth class that the people on this planet are a bunch of terrorists and they're doing horrible things, and that's why they deserve to die. I think that's pretty relevant, specifically when it comes to like Palestine, is what I'm thinking of. Something else is like the prejudice that you see here. So when our main character and his parents and his ancestors came down, one thing that they discovered is that part of their human genes weren't super compatible with this planet. So there has been some like genome modifications to our main character's generation and future generations. They are still human. They can reproduce with humans. They are phenotypically, they are all humans. There's just like a gene that's been switched so they could like survive on this planet, New Sonora, and people on Earth consider them subhumans. They are literally no different. Again, that's pretty like topical, that's very much like something that we see today when it comes to like prejudice against like any specific group. There's one character who was like, I just don't understand how they see us as subhuman. We are basically the same individuals. And an older character was like, this is how it's been forever. It may not make sense to you, it's not logical, but like hate will continue to be there even if it's like not logical. I am enjoying it. I don't know if I'll love it. I don't know how much this will have an impact on me. Like I appreciate the themes and what the author is touching on, but let's see like how much more he can add to it. I don't foresee myself hating this or giving this anything less than a 3. It could be a 3.5, it could be a 4, but I'm not wowed yet. I am not super drawn to any particular characters other than the drone. There's a drone that's kind of like controls all the other drones in the area that they typically use for farming, but because they're being attacked, the drone has gone into like defense mode, which it never has because they've never been attacked like this. But there's a drone that's kind of witty, kind of funny. So far so good. If I have any major updates, I will come back, but I don't know if I'll love this. I don't think I'll hate it either though. Right now I'm pretty much in a like 3.5 to a 4 range, but we'll see. The humor could turn bad. It's very like piss humor. There's like gamer humor, which I don't mind because I have brothers who've been gamers. I'm kind of a gamer as well. I will be back. So it is finally time to wrap up my vlog, but before I do, let's talk about my final thoughts on Operation Bounce House. I am surprised how much I really enjoyed this. I'm leaving this with a 4-star rating. I was really hesitant. I wasn't sure if this author's humor was going to be for me. I've heard some critiques about some of the stuff that he's written in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, but I really like this. I think specifically what I really liked was how much he was getting into the nuances of violence against an oppressed class and what happens when that oppressed class of people fights back. In particular, I really appreciated how the author wasn't very shameful of the people on New Sonora when they were violent in return, and when they had some very like violent reactions towards like people from Earth. There was a moment in this book where one of the characters was like, I just want everyone on Earth to suffer. Obviously not everyone on Earth is hurting the individuals on New Sonora. In fact, obviously there's like children and innocents, but there's also like a group of I don't know what you want to call, but there's a group of people who are trying to advocate for peace. There's a group of people trying to like fight for the people on this planet. So obviously not everyone on Earth is complicit with this, but that violent reaction, that anger that's coming out from our characters in this book is it's normal. It happens. We all have those bouts of like, I want everyone to suffer, and I appreciate that was here in this book. I mentioned Palestine. That is something that was constantly in my head while I was reading this. I don't know if that's something that the author was like referencing or was something that was a big influence for him in his work here. I appreciated a lot of the nuances in that subject against like violence and a genocide. This is a genocide essentially. They want to remove everyone on this planet. I do want to circle back. When I first talked about this book, I talked about the sister being an OnlyFans worker or essentially OnlyFans. It has a different name here, but again, it's not bad. Like, it's not problematic. I'm not saying that there's incest or anything in this book, but there's just like not enough uncomfortability with the sister character. At some point in this book, she wears like a thong, assless chaps, and like a little bra thing. Like, she's being sexually explicit on purpose. Like, that's what she's trying to do. And our main character is so like, he's fine with it. Like, he does not bat an eye, and maybe he's just super mature and much more mature than me. But if my brother was doing like sexual content, like if he was a sex worker, that's all fine. Like, morally I have no problem with it, but like like ill gross, you're my brother, you know what I mean? Like it's just something that siblings do. There's another scene where someone sticks the sister's one of her sex toys like on a helmet as like a funny hee-haw decoration, and if I saw one of my brother's sex toys, if they even have one, I'd be like, ew, gross, like put that away, like I don't want to see your sex toys again. It's just like a sibling thing, but there wasn't, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but there's just not enough like ill gross, like you know how siblings are. The last 100 pages or so, I felt that there was a huge reliance on Roger, our AI like bot character, who's essentially in charge of all the other robots on New Sonora. The majority of the book, which takes place on 5 nights, so it's night 1 of 5, night 2 of 5, night 3 of 5, that's how it's broken up. The first 4 nights, I thought the author did a good job of really explaining what was going to happen and breaking it down, and we're going through the motions and they're preparing to be attacked. And the 5th night, everything kind of just like hit the fan, and Roger, the AI character, was hacking everything. He was downloading all this information. He was doing this, that, and the third, and it just was very convenient. I think the Roger character was just a huge convenience for our characters. Suddenly they had access to everything. They had access to all these weapons, and it became kind of like easy mode. If we're going to talk about like video games, it became a little bit easy mode. It was still very high stakes and like thrilling, because the last act, night 5 of 5, was had so much action, so even though I knew that like it was going to be like a good ending, there was still that thrill of the book, of the final act, but I knew it was going to mostly have a good ending, because everything just got so convenient for our characters. I'm surprised at how well I was able to follow the action. I'm not like an action oriented reader for the most part, but I managed to keep up a little bit. There was a lot of like technical like hacking language, like I downloaded this and there's a lot of that, and I just don't follow that in general. Sorry if you can hear someone mowing the lawn, it's my neighbor. Yeah, there's just little things in the last 100 pages that just knock this down. If the ending was a bit more tense and not everything was super convenient for our characters, I might have given this a 4.5, but we're settling on a 4. Anything else? I do think there were some very like touching moments towards the end about like perseverance of the human race, and I do like the conversations of AI. And when I say AI, I don't mean like ugly generative bullshit that like creatives use. I mean like actual like cool sci-fi AI, like a machine that learns, like actual artificial sci-fi intelligence, not like shitty AI. I do like those kinds of conversations of like humanity and the comparisons between AI and people. But yeah, I'm surprised that I like this, and I'm more willing to pick up Dungeon Crawler Carl. I probably won't pick up the hardbacks of that series. I will probably pick up a paperback of Dungeon Crawler Carl, but this was fun. I like this. 4 stars. But that means that the vlog is over, so let's quickly wrap up everything that I talked about in this vlog. As you know, I started off this vlog with a bang. I absolutely loved This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me. This is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite book of the year so far. I am so happy that I picked this up. I love this so much. I'm switching to a mic. I very rarely use mics because I hate this mic, but someone's cutting the grass, my dad's yelling, watching TV super loud, so bear with me. I'm going to try not to move so much because this one tends to like make a bunch of crackling noises. But like I was saying, we continue with the Bone Raiders. I thought this was a fine read. It was kind of so-so. It was just okay. Mostly positive. I did like one of the sapphic relationships. It was fun when it needed to be. I just wish there was more action. Funny enough, I'm not a big action person, but this one I thought was going to have that, and I was really prepared to read something like that. But this was just okay. I probably won't keep this on my shelves much longer. As you can tell, I'm at capacity, so I do need to start making some space, and I think this might go. It's not bad. I just I don't see myself thinking about this too much later on. Might read the second book if I hear good things about it. And then obviously we continued with Graceless Heart. I'm landing somewhere between a 2.5 or a 2. The more I think about this, the more I don't really care about majority of things here. I just really like the setting of this. I thought Florence was described so nicely. It's the Renaissance, so everything's so beautiful, lush, and architectural. And the love of arts is something that I really appreciate here. But the romance was whatever. The politics was like a mess. There were a few scenes I really liked. There was kind of like a little bit of an uprising in the middle of this book. I didn't really talk about that much because it was part of the plot, so I didn't want to spoil anything. But there's a little bit of like a uprising that I thought was really cool, but for the most part, this was just really mid to like not good. So this is definitely getting unhauled, and it's a beautiful edition. So I think someone will really enjoy this. Probably gonna do like a unhaul video soon. I'll get to that later. And then obviously I just finished talking about Operation Bounce House, 4 stars. So overall, a mostly like positive reading experience with these new releases. I am so glad that I'm getting through them um, more and more every month because I really enjoy doing new releases vlogs. This is my second, and I really want to do another one already. Have you read any of these books? Have you liked them, disliked them? Do you disagree with my thoughts on them? I would like to hear anything you have to say in the comments down below. I will also link my social medias down below as well as some far more important links. Feel free to like, dislike, comment, or subscribe, or do neither. It's all cool with me. If you don't know what to say, you can just leave an emoji. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.